There's been a lot of talk about Paolo Banchero, and a lot of it hasn't been good, and some of it's deserved. But today, we're going to tell you the good things Paolo Banchero is doing today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is December 26, 2025. Happy Boxing Day to those who celebrate. And I hope everybody who is listening had a great holiday, a Merry Christmas if you celebrate Merry Christmas, or just a good day off if you don't. Lots of basketball going on. It's a good day of basketball. Some mediocre football out there, but Christmas is basketball's day. So I want to wish everybody a very, very happy Boxing Day, a very Merry Christmas as we close out the week strong. On today's episode, of course, I am Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, I don't want to talk about Paolo Banchero more than we have to, but we're going to do one more segment on Paolo, maybe two. But we're going to do another segment on Paolo because I dove into the numbers, and I have good things to say about him. I have good numbers to show that Paolo is making the impact we want, even if it's not everything we want. We're going to dive into those numbers coming up here. Plus, how the Magic get back to playing on Christmas and some lingering concerns over the last 7 games that the Magic need to correct as they start to slowly, maybe, possibly, potentially get healthy. But before we do that, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies. That means you're an everydayer listening 5 days a week, listening when we do our weekend episodes like we will this weekend for the Magic's back-to-back, making us part of your regular podcast rotation, making us your first listen of the day. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic community so great, and thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I don't want to beat everything over the head with Paolo Banchero. He's a star. People want to talk about him, so I don't want to ignore him. And with the way the Magic are constructed and the way the Magic are playing, yes, he is really vital to a lot of things the Magic are doing right now. And look, we don't know when Franz Wagner is going to be back. 4 weeks will be January 4th. So 1 week from Sunday. So we're not even 3 weeks into this thing. People initially said 2 to 4 weeks. I was thinking more 4 to 6. I don't anticipate Franz to be back January 4th, but we'll learn a little bit more. Follow all my socials. Follow all the usual sources. We're going to learn a little bit more because we'll actually be able to talk to the team. Neither I nor Jason Beatty, the Orlando Sentinel, were on this last road trip. Josh Robbins of the Athletic was. So we'll get some injury updates here very, very shortly. Good news about Tristan Silva. We'll get to that in a minute. Paolo Banchero is not playing like an all-star right now. At least not in the scoring and the efficiency that is what this team needs. Like right now, just frankly, the Magic needs someone that can do the hard things. And when the offense hits a rut or they're in this a trough or they're struggling to score, they just need somebody who's going to make a basket and calm everyone down. Right now, the Magic aren't able to make things easy when things aren't going wrong. And we'll get to some of the lingering concerns, but it's all tied into this thing. Paolo had an interesting game on Tuesday against Portland. Only 8 field goal attempts. He made 4 of them, so can't accuse him of not being efficient. Didn't have a ton of assists. Did solid on rebounds. Got to the foul line. It was a strange game. The Magic clearly believe and should believe that Paolo can be their superstar player. But so far this season, he's averaging 20.5 points per game, lowest since his rookie year. He's shooting a career low 14.9 field goal attempts per game. And I'm not going to sit here and say, go wild, take as many shots as you want. I don't think we want that. but he's also shooting just 43.6% from the floor, the worst since his rookie year, and a career worst 23.7% from three. According to Synergy, Banchero is shooting just 26.1% on jumpers. That is bottom 10% in the league. And among players with at least a usage rate of 25%, only John Morant and Cam Thomas have a worse effective field goal percentage. So I'm not sugarcoating anything. I think Paolo Banchero is doing a lot of good things, and we're going to dive into some of them here in a minute. But he is not doing everything the Magic need, especially if they want to compete at the level they want to compete at. Now, look, we're in a soft spot in the schedule. The Magic had just enough to beat Utah, just enough to beat Portland. They're playing a Charlotte team that's 10-20. And Charlotte's dangerous. Do not get me wrong. Friday is not some sleepwalk game. And right now, the Magic just aren't in a state, partially because Paolo Banchero doesn't feel like an all-star right now and isn't playing at that level. And it's a level that we expect him to play at. It's, they gave him the max contract. He's not on it yet, but they gave him the max contract. He's done it for the last 2 years. The Magic is asking him to be a higher level scorer with the added playmaking, with the rebounding, with the defense, which is especially slipped. They're looking for some efficiency. And again, I will give Paolo credit. His assists are in line with what they were last year. And since coming back from the injury, and certainly on this road trip, he was excellent. In the 6 games since Franz Wagner's injury, essentially since Paolo came back, Paolo is averaging 20.8 points per game. Again, maybe you could bump the scoring up a little bit. Obviously, efficiency, scoring, all that. But 9.7 rebounds per game and 6 assists per game. Again, shooting only 40.6%. The Magic are 3-3, and the Magic's offensive rating has dropped to 111.5. That's 23rd in the league. The Magic are bottom 10 in the league in offensive rating. Again, the more important stat is they're 3-3 in the 6 games that Franz Wagner missed. But to people who want the narrative, that's like, oh, Franz and the Magic thrive when Paolo's out. The Magic struggle when Franz is out and Paolo's in. Well, Franz had Desmond Bane and Jalen Suggs. Paolo has essentially only had Desmond Bane. And again, Desmond Bane has his own host of issues when he's kind of thrust into that role. And those were clear with Memphis too. And the Magic, I don't think ever really imagined that Bane would spend so much time as the number 2 guy or spend a lot of time as your primary scorer. And look, he's still been successful. He's still done good things. Now, I think we do have to grant, even though it's been a couple weeks now, that Paolo is still working himself back into shape. We saw this last year with the oblique, how much he struggled to kind of get himself going. He had that really bad January into the All-Star break. And it was just bad. And you just had to work through it. And it didn't help even then, especially for the people making the narratives. It didn't help even then that Franz was also hurt. And then Franz was working his way back into rhythm and into rotation. And at the end of the day, and this is always the point I make, especially when people want to criticize Jamal Mosley, which there's still plenty of reasons to criticize Jamal Mosley. Do not get me wrong. They're either this Magic team under Jamal Mosley always plays better at the end of the season. Jamal Mosley does a really good job, and this is important. It is important that he does this, and it has been consistent. The Magic have always had a better win percentage after the All-Star break than they did again as compared to the rest of the season. The Magic were 41-41 last year. They went, I think, 12. They won 12 of their last 18 games last season. This team always gets better as the year goes on, and Jamal Mosley deserves credit for that. So I want to give Paolo the credit for trying to do the right things, because there are signs that is working. There are signs that despite all the negativity around Paolo Banchero, all the things people want from him and should want from him, don't get me wrong, I don't think the criticisms are completely invalid. Maybe overblown is the right word, but Paolo's got to play better. I'm not pretending otherwise. But there are still good signs that Paolo is getting it. And I want to dive into those good signs and explain why I am not so worried about Paolo Banchero because he is doing or trying to do the right things. We're going to dive into those numbers. I'm going to explain those numbers coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You could buy or sell your positions live all game long, using your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now you can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. The season is heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun. Because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. Just the truth. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy, and sometimes you just need dessert now. I'm going to eat some dessert after I finish recording this. Those late night interviews hit, and suddenly get those chips at midnight. DoorDash is built exactly for that. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drink, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day and your first listen of the day. And thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Magic compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show, and hosts hang out in some of the chats too. Like I jump into the UCF chat occasionally. I jump in, there's a general NBA chat as well. So it's a great way to connect to other Locked On fans across the league. Go to lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com, or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of negativity around Paolo Banchero. And again, some of it is deserved. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it isn't. Paolo is not playing at the level that we want, that the Magic need him to. And it's not necessarily about just raw scoring numbers. It's not necessarily efficiency, although it is. Yes, he needs to make shots and be a little bit more efficient. His bad stretches recently, because the Magic don't have a Franz Wagner, don't have Jalen Suggs. They're down guys. They need their, Jamal Mosley says all the time, when it's next man up really means that you do your role, but you need to do it better. And again, like, there are areas where Paolo Banchero has been a lot better. His assists are way up since coming back, certainly since coming back from injury. His rebounding is at a career best. He is contributing in other ways. But it's like saying, oh, Tyus Jones is getting a lot of rebounds. Well, Tyus Jones getting a lot of rebounds is all well and good. And he's not. I'm just using this as an example. But Tyus Jones is on the court to make threes and be a distributor. And as we mentioned the other day, on Wednesday, Tyus Jones is doing the distributing part a lot better now. 3-point shots coming around, but the percentage isn't there overall. We're not having a Tyus Jones conversation today. Paolo, though, is having a positive impact, though, and a positive effect. It has often been the case that everybody loves to use the on-off numbers to say, oh, this is why Paolo is less valuable and why Franz is more valuable. because everyone's trying to pit those two together. And as Paolo made it clear in an interview with Josh Robbins of The Athletic on Monday in San Francisco, it's BS. Excusing my language because Paolo actually said the word. It's just wrong, in Paolo's opinion, to think that Paolo and Franz can't work together. And I agree with him. Like, there's clearly evidence that they can work together and clearly evidence that they're fine. But there's also some clear evidence that the Magic right now are still better with Paolo on the court. And there's clear evidence that despite Paolo's shooting struggles, which again, he will have to sort out for the Magic to get where they want to go, that despite Paolo's shooting struggles, the Magic have never been better with Paolo on the floor. And the Magic are, especially as they get healthier, going to be better. In the last 6 games, the Magic have a 117 offensive rating with Banchero on the floor, a mark that trails only Jalen Suggs, who's played only 2 games, and Wendell Carter, who shares a lot of his minutes with Paolo Banchero, in that stretch. Now, we won't talk about the defense because the defense has been bad. And some of that is on Paolo. Paolo's got to be a little sharper on the defensive end. There's no doubt about his attention has been wandering a little bit more, but at the same time, the majority of the last 6 games, the Magic have played without Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs, 2 all defensive team level defenders. And that, I think, is as big of a reason as any that the Magic's defense has taken a little bit of a nosedive. But this is the point I want to make about this. For so long, we were told the Magic's offense is worse because Paolo holds the ball, because he doesn't keep things moving. And small samples, but that is proving not to be the case right now. It is proving that the Magic are operating just fine. According to data from Second Spectrum, Banchero averages 3.52 seconds per touch this season. In the last 6 games, he's down to 3.29 seconds per touch. Now, that may not sound like a lot. And I'll be the first to say I don't think the Magic are using Paolo appropriately, although they're probably using him the way they have to. They may not have a choice in playing him in more standstill positions, top of the key initiating actions. I'm a big believer, get Paolo the ball in the move, get him in some cuts, get him in some cross screens, like put the defense in some compromising positions, put him in positions where Paolo can attack a defense that isn't set. I think the Magic have to do more of those things, but it's really hard right now when you're down 2 of your key playmakers and you don't have a lot of other high-level creators, especially off the dribble, that you can turn to. Like Anthony Black is better at it, but not there yet. Tyus Jones is Tyus Jones. And again, a big reason why I think Paolo had some success on Tuesday is that Tyus Jones played really, really well. There is no doubt that the Magic need their full complement of players. There's also less doubt now than maybe there was a while ago that Banchero is doing better things. Here's another stat that I like to quote to people. Through December 7th, Franz Wagner's injury on December 7th, the Magic had a plus 2.1 net rating with Paolo on the floor. 114.1 offensive rating, 112 defensive rating. Plus 2.1 net rating. They had a 2.7 net rating, 114-2, 111-4 with Wagner on the floor. Now, again, that could be them sharing. That could be them off the floor. It could be a lot of things. And obviously, Franz is playing a lot more minutes because he played a lot more during that time. But for the first time, that narrative that the Magic are so significantly better with Franz on the floor compared to Paolo on the floor, it's not holding water. As is this idea that the Magic's 2 stars can't work together. In their limited minutes together, and I get smaller sample, the Magic have a plus 4 net rating, 114.2 offensive rating, 110.3 defensive rating with both Banchero and Wagner on the floor. The Magic's preferred starting lineup still has like a plus 17 or 18 off net rating. They're still the 3rd best lineup in the league that's played at least 100 minutes. Again, very, very small. So if Banchero's a little frustrated and a little upset that there is all this negativity around him. I'm not here to say it's not all deserved. Because, yes, he's got to shoot better. He's got to make jumpers. He's got to be a threat there for the Magic to get where they want to go. Because we're going to talk about, in a minute, what we're really thinking about today and what we're really thinking about at this moment, or what is kind of in the back of everybody's mind, because it's ultimately what's important. But I think it's important to note, Paolo is trying to beat the rap. He is moving the ball better. He is not holding it as much. It still happens. He still takes bad shots. He still takes contested mid-range shots. It still happens, and it's still going to happen a little bit. He needs a couple of those shots in his diet just to keep defenses off balance. But he and the Magic need to continue to improve their efficiency. Because all the other elements, the passing, the rebounding, the impact on the floor, and look, Desmond Bane is a huge help in that. All that other stuff is making him a better player and is helping him answer all the calls that everybody had about him. The Magic still need him to be a star. Do not get me wrong. And that's where we're going to shift our focus to the future and how the Magic get back to playing on Christmas. We're going to get to that, plus some lingering concerns coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. During basketball season, there is nothing like being in the building. The energy, the crowd, the first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast, simple, and without the guesswork. Browsing the Game Time app is straightforward and intuitive. Finding tickets takes just a few taps. I think they literally give you the hottest tickets in town, what's going on in your city, in your location, whether it's a game, whether it's a show, whether it's a concert, whatever it is. And you can see the view from your seat with a digital view of the stage, field, pitch, court, whatever, before buying, making choosing tickets easy and confident. Plus, prices include fees up front, so the total is clear from the start. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA, for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. If you are like me, you typically spend your Christmas parked in front of the TV watching 5 glorious games of basketball. I'm Jewish. I don't have family. I don't have to deal with Christmas stuff. So this is a basketball holiday for me. I got Nuggets Wolves going on behind me. So if I turn and look at the score, I'm invested in the NBA. I want to see the NBA succeed, and I've done my part. I did my part to help the ratings. Don't blame me when the ratings are terrible. They should be terrible. They should be pretty good this year. The question that I have, because the Magic are trying to reach this upper tier now. The question that I have is, when are we going to see the Magic back on Christmas? We have not seen the Magic play on Christmas since Dwight Howard in 2012. And since we're doing things this year that the Magic haven't done since Dwight Howard, like having an offense that is not in the bottom 10 in the league, if we're going to do these things, we got to ask the question, when are the Magic going to accomplish this goal? And think about the teams that we saw today. There are a few things that stand out about the teams that are playing. And this is the Magic's path to being back on Christmas. The first thing is being a title contender. The NBA wants to feature the teams that are going to get ratings. They want good games, and for the most part, they got pretty good games today. But they want the biggest stars, and they want the teams and the players that are going to matter deeper into the season. If it is still the case, which it is not, but if it is still, because the ratings certainly suggest it's not, but if it is still the case that the general public does not begin thinking about the NBA until Christmas, this is your front porch. This is the, hey, welcome to the NBA season. Here are the players and teams that you need to know. So there's a lot of picking teams to play on Christmas based on what the ratings are going to get. That's why LeBron is always on Christmas, no matter how good or bad his team might be. That's why Steph Curry is always on Christmas, no matter how good or bad his team might be. That's why they went in on Victor Wembanyama, because he is a ratings marvel and a really good player. They want the teams that are going to matter. And so, yes, I think we're all hungry to see Paolo Banchero take his place among the best young players in the league. And look, we just spent 20 minutes talking about how Paolo is struggling to do that right now. So not the time to put him on there. And, it's certainly because we had to do a 20 minutes. I'm not even gonna get to my lingering concerns, because we had to do 20 minutes on explaining why Paolo is actually doing better than he looks, but still needs to do more. He's not that level of star quite yet. But even if he were averaging 25 on decent efficiency, and the Magic were comfortably third in the East, they're sixth right now. Even if he were doing all those things, none of it matters, because they haven't done it in the playoffs yet. And so if you want to know what it's going to take for the Magic to get back playing on Christmas, which I'm sure the players are happy they're not, but it is an honor. If the league chooses you to play on Christmas, that means the league thinks you're pretty good. If the Magic want to play on Christmas, if the Magic want to have this moment in the sun, they've got to play and win in the playoffs. Right now, the Magic are just a very nice team. They'll end up with 16 national TV games with the 2 that were added for the NBA Cup. They're 4-2 in those games. They're finally winning these big games in front of a bigger audience. But for the Magic to return to like this national spotlight, it's not just going to be that they have really good players. They have 2 players who should be perennially in the All-Star conversation, if not perennial All-Stars. Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are going to be in the All-Star conversation. And frankly, they should both be All-Stars every year for the next 6-7 years, if not the next decade. The fact that Franz won't make it because of injury, and he still might make it, because if the Magic are comfortably third when the coaches vote at the end of January, the coaches are going to put a Magic player on their ballot, and the coaches are going to get a Magic player in. And it might be Franz, it might be Dez, it still might be Paolo. There's a lot of time left before the coaches vote. We still got a month of games. It's another, we hit the midpoint of the season in mid-January. We still got 16, 17, 8, maybe 20 games before the All-Star reserves are announced. They're not starting, but before the All-Star reserves are announced. So the Magic have an All-Star on their roster somewhere, unless they just completely collapse over the next month, which again happened in 2016, but we don't talk about that year. But for the Magic to really make an impact, they've got to be on the biggest stage. It's not the NBA Cup, as much as we love the NBA Cup. It's getting to the second round of the playoffs. It's having a competitive series. It's making a mark in the national conscience. It is having everyone say, oh, that team's got it. We got to watch that team. This year, I've had people ask me, what are the Magic's goals for this season? And look, it's easy to say, oh, get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And that would be great. To me, the goal is simple. Win a playoff series and look like you're ready to compete for a championship. Get into a second round series, and the only reason you lose is inexperience. Whether it's coaching inexperience, whether it's player inexperience, preferably player inexperience. I don't want coaching inexperience, but I don't want to, if we exit the season where clearly Jamal Mosley's the problem, then we got to have some discussions. And I don't think we're there yet. And Jamal's getting a year, kids. So, save the pitchforks for the spring. Put the pitchforks away until the spring. The Magic still have to prove themselves on that bigger stage. And once they do, if they do, then we can have the playoff discussion. Then we can ask, oh, are they ready for that? Are they ready to do that? And that will be how the Magic get on Christmas next year. It is not impossible. It is certainly not impossible that the Magic are playing on Christmas 2026. A strong playoff run, a star-making playoff turn from Franz Wagner or Paolo Banchero, some entertaining rivalries. If the Magic keep building these rivalries, like I would love to see a Magic Knicks playoff series. I think that would get really testy. It'd be a huge, huge stage, a lot of attention. The Knicks are like, no offense to our friends from Detroit, the Knicks are probably the public's favorite to win the East. The Knicks in the finals is a very real thing. And playing a feisty team like the Magic, and the Knicks owe us one because we weakened Boston for them last year. But playing a feisty team like the Magic that kind of bugs them in a lot of ways when they're healthy. Like when the Magic are healthy, Franz Wagner bugs a lot of players on the Knicks. Again, I will lead the Franz Wagner for all defensive team chance here. Like I think he's an all defensive team level player. That's how the Magic get back on Christmas. At the end of the day, like everything we're talking about, like Paolo struggles, like I'm still very optimistic that in 2-3 weeks, we will be laughing about the way Paolo struggled, and he will look like the Paolo Banchero we hoped he would. Or maybe, maybe the jumper will never quite come around this year, but he'll still make an impact for this team. And then on top of that, and then beyond that, Paolo's showing up in the playoffs, which he has done for the last 2 years. That changes the narrative. And not just a first round series buried on NBA TV somewhere. A playoff series, second round playoff series where everybody's forced to watch you. That's how the Magic improve their standing and improve their profile in this league. That's how they're playing on Christmas next year. It's always about the playoffs. You always got to win in the playoffs. And that's what it's about once again. We're not going to get to lingering concerns. Biggest lingering concern, Magic's turnovers are up a little bit. Had a bad turnover game on Monday and Tuesday. Rebounding is a little weaker than it needs to be, especially against the Charlotte Hornets team, although Ryan Kalkbrenner is out. Hornets do a really good job on the offensive glass, get a lot of second chance points. Magic got to lock down the glass. And their free throw rate is down. One of the best teams at getting to the foul line. Magic got to get to the foul line again more. So those are my lingering concerns. Not going to have time to address those fully. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, search your tune in Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places you download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go check out all the great podcasts on Locked On Podcast Network. Check out our Everydayer Club as well. Ad-free episodes of the show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be bought or can be gifted at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com. For those of you on video, we're going to send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA game night to get a full recap of the Christmas Day extravaganza. You can find that on Locked On NBA. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On our next episode of Locked On Magic, we'll recap the Magic's game against the Charlotte Hornets. I'll be at the Kia Center for that. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.